Just in time for Christmas, Hasbro CEO Chris Cox announces that 1,100 people are being laid off. Not in January after they've enjoyed their holidays. No, right now, 2 weeks before Christmas. You were going to go home today and have wonderful, relaxing time, maybe think about all the time you're going to spend with your family. But instead of that, you're going to think about how you lost your job. And now you got to go find a different job. Well, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Now, this right here is an internal memo that Chris Cox wrote to his wonderful employees before laying off over 1,000 of them. And I want to point out a few parts of it. The first one here says, while we're confident in the future of Hasbro, the current environment demands that we do more, even if these choices are some of the hardest we have to make. Hard choices. Yeah, I understand, you're making $9.4 million a year. Well, that was last year. Who knows how much you made this year? So I guess you do have to make a lot of hard choices in your line of work, don't you, Chris? But, hey, at least you're going to have $9.4 million plus waiting for you in the bank account to make you feel a bit better. Everybody who got laid off just in time for Christmas, they probably don't, do they? Now, I did this interesting little experiment. I was like, okay, well, he makes $9.4 million. Does he really need that much? Maybe not. Let's just say we give him $1 million a year. $1 million a year should be enough for a human being to live on, right? So let's say that $8.4 million were taken out of his paycheck and redistributed to the company so that people wouldn't have to be laid off. How many people jobs could have been saved? 56. So that's 56 fewer people. 56 people that could have had a wonderful Christmas that now aren't going to have one. Just a little interesting thought experiment that I did. And, to continue that thought experiment, it made me start to think how many other executives are at Hasbro that are highly compensated in the millions of dollars. And if they didn't get all of that money, which is probably more than a human being needs to survive, then I wonder how many other employees perhaps may not have lost their jobs just in time for Christmas. But I digress into a quasi-related rant. Let's get back to his fine memo that he wrote to his employees. It continues on and says, today we're announcing additional headcount reductions as part of our previously communicated strategic transformation. These are corporate buzzwords for you folks, affecting approximately 1,100 colleagues globally, in addition to the roughly 800 reductions already taken. That's right. Earlier this year, Hasbro reduced their headcount by 800 people. So we're now up to about 2,000 people that have been reduced from the company this year alone. Now, you may be asking yourself, well, why do they have to reduce all of these people? And especially right around Christmas time? Well, that's a wonderful question. And you can see right here that Hasbro's stock prices are in a nosedive. This is the 5-year stock price for them. And you can see here about the middle of 2019 was their peak at about $120 per share. And right now, their stock is sitting at around $50 a share. They're down 50% from their peak in 2019. And year to date, they're down by a crap ton as well. Check this out. Their peak this year, around September, was $70 a share. And now they're down around $50 a share. What is that? Down 20%, 30%? It's not looking good. Now, you may be saying to yourself, okay, sure, Hasbro stock is tanking because Monopoly and G.I. Joe and Transformers and stuff are tanking. But Wizards of the Coast stuff, Magic the Gathering and D&D, well, those are doing fairly well, right? And so shouldn't they be spared from this heartache? No! Check this out. It has been confirmed that an art director and a game designer for Dungeons & Dragons have been let go as well, in addition to probably other people from Wizards of the Coast. Okay, this is Editor Luke stepping in. As I'm editing this video, I realized I said that D&D was probably doing well this year, and I don't know if that's true. The OGL scandal that happened at the beginning of this year probably hit them big time. And all of the lost subs in D&D Beyond were probably a big, massive loss to them. And right now, as some of these yearly subs are probably starting to expire, D&D, the losses from the OGL scandal and how that affected them are probably just really mounting up right now. So I don't even know if D&D did well this year. They could have done poorly for all I know. Now, when I first heard that this was happening like a couple of hours ago, I was absolutely irate. Irate. It is December 13th. It's a couple weeks before Christmas. Can you imagine going into work and finding out that you're losing your job? Or maybe you don't find out that you're losing your job, but you find out that 1,000 people are, and they're going to let you know who they are. And so imagine the morale, imagine the feeling around the office at Wizards of the Coast, at other Hasbro places, when you find out 2 weeks before Christmas that a whole bunch of people, a massive amount of people are losing their jobs, and you might be one of them. I mean, if this isn't the height of corporate sleaze, to tell people they're losing their jobs and to do that a couple weeks before Christmas and the holidays, man, I don't know what is. Because you know you could have waited until January, couldn't ya? And we shall continue reading Chris's lovely memo. Our leadership team came to this difficult decision after much deliberation. We recognize this is heavy news that affects the livelihood of our friends and colleagues. Your friends and your okay, look. You don't do this to friends. You do not tell your friends that you're going to be fired 2 weeks before Christmas. Like, that is not something you do to your friends. So, like, you know, your note here is a little screwed up, dude. Just letting you know. Our focus is communicating with each of you transparently and supporting you through this period of change. I want to start by addressing why we are doing this now and what's next. Yeah, that would be pretty nice to know why now, wouldn't it? Like, why are we doing this 2 weeks before Christmas, Chris? Let us know why now, please. We entered 2023 expecting a year of change. That's corporate terminology for you're not going to like what happens. Including significant updates to our leadership team, structure, and scope of operations. Scope of operations. That's very interesting. Let's take a look at something. Now, if we come over here, we can see that we have a United States Securities and Exchange Commission SEC filing that Hasbro put in. And I want to draw your attention to a specific part of this. In October 2022, following a strategic review, Hasbro Incorporated, the company, or Hasbro, announced an Operational Excellence Program. The Operational Excellence Program. That's a great code name for, like, we're going to fire a whole bunch of people and restructure and outsource, isn't it? An ongoing enterprise-wide initiative intended to improve our business through specialized organizational problems that included target cost savings, using cheaper printed card stock for Magic the Gathering, firing people, etc., supply chains transformation, and certain other restructuring actions designed to drive growth and enhance shareholder value. Shareholder value. Because see, when you're a publicly traded company, shareholder value is like the number one thing you care about. It's not whether your employees have nice Christmases with their family. No, you need to make sure you maximize shareholder value. And as we can see here, their shareholder value is not doing too well right now. On December 11th, 2023, following a further review of the company's cost structure and organizational design, the company announced additional strategic steps to position the business for future growth, including a revised organizational structure whereby certain corporate functions are anticipated to be supported by a third-party outsourcing partner, as well as additional headcount reductions under the Operational Excellence Program. Third-party outsourcing. There you go. Where are they sending those jobs to? I wonder. But let's go back to Chris's letter to his friends and colleagues, shall we? While we have made some important progress across our organization, wait, you have? Because, like, you're the CEO and you're paid to maximize shareholder value, and this right here doesn't look like you're maximizing shareholder value. Like, year to date, that's not too spectacular, but I guess that's progress. The headwinds we saw through the first 9 months of the year have continued into holiday and are likely to persist into 2024. To position Hasbro for growth, we must make sure our foundation is solid and profitable. I mean, I can't really argue with that. If your business isn't making money and it's going like this, then eventually it's not going to be a business any longer. That makes sense. To do that, we need to modernize our organization and get even leaner. Modernize your organization. Do you want to know what modernize your organization and get even leaner actually means? These are buzzwords for firing a whole bunch of people, giving their work to the rest of the people who remain, overworking them, making them do more work essentially. And I don't know, increasing the pay of the CEO? Like, this is just what he got paid last year. He probably got paid more this year, and then, you know, he'll probably get paid more the next year, I suppose. So, because you're modernizing and leaning everything out, except for your own salaries, those always seem to keep going up and up, don't they? We will see workforce reductions as a last resort. Given the state of our business, it's a lever we must pull to keep Hasbro healthy. So did you notice that he's like, why now? Like, we're gonna tell, okay, so why are we doing this now? Why now? And then this whole section is titled, why now? And then it literally doesn't tell you why they're doing it now. Like most people don't care if it's like this month, that month, or this other month. But the question is, why right now, right before Christmas? That's what I want to know, Chris. Like, why couldn't you wait a few weeks, let people get through the holidays, let them enjoy the time with their family and friends, and then tell them they're getting canned? Like, that would probably be something that you, a nicety that you would afford to your friends, don't you think? But we're making changes across the entire organization. Some functional areas will be affected more than others. Many of those whose roles are affected have been or will be informed in the next 24 hours, although the timings will vary by Okay, look it, their roles aren't being affected. Like, their jobs are being affected. They're being fired. Their roles are just transferring to another person who still works there. Like, congratulations, your Christmas present this year is you didn't get fired, but we're doubling your workload. Yay. I mean, holy freaking crap. Can you imagine what the morale must be around Hasbro offices over at Wizards of the Coast right now? Like, seriously. Seriously. What a horrible, sleazy thing to do in the holidays. Now, it looks like here they are doing a voluntary early retirement program so that people who are close to retirement can, like, leave so that other people don't have to be fired, which I guess is to be commended because that way folks can just retire who are close to it and then other people can keep their jobs. So I mean, that seems to be a positive thing, I think, here. And here's the part that's a little bit more confusing to me, so I'm not quite sure how to take this. It says the majority of the notifications will happen over the next 6 months, with the balance occurring over the next year as we tackle the remaining work on our organizational model. So this seems like 1,100 people are going to be fired. Some people have been told that they're being let go. Other people will be told over the next 6 months to a year or something, uncertain who they're going to be. Can you imagine if you're working there? Over the next year, you know that like 20% plus of the workforce is going to be fired, and you may or may not be the one. Wow, what a crazy place to work right now. I would be terrified. No, you know, I literally worked in a place that was similar to that sort of atmosphere. It was an automobile company, all right? And I was in the logistics department, and we had this plant manager who was a monster. He was just going irate, screaming, yelling, firing people all over the place. And the atmosphere there was basically one of, listen, either you find a new job or you're going to get fired. And essentially what happened in the job that I was working at is that the good employees found new jobs and they left. And the people who couldn't find new jobs, they're the ones that stayed, and many of them were getting fired. The atmosphere there, the environment, the feeling you had every day when you went to work was terrifying. It was a horrible, horrible place to work. That plant manager was a piece of work, and he didn't succeed, and he ended up getting fired himself, which makes me feel really good. But my point is I understand that. I understand what it feels like to be in that sort of environment, and man, that sucks. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Well, maybe my worst enemy, but not normal people who just go to work every day to do their jobs, who probably love their jobs. They're making D&D products, gaming and stuff. I mean, they probably love that crap, you know, but now they have this like, this hostile, oh man, hi Squirty. What else are we doing? I know this news is especially difficult during the holiday season. We value each of our team members. They aren't just employees, they're friends and colleagues. Like, again, you don't fire friends during the holidays. We decided to communicate now so people have time to plan and process the changes. Are you insane? Are you off? Like, seriously, 2 weeks before Christmas, you decided now so they could have time to plan and process the changes? What? Because they already had time off over Christmas? So instead of taking their 2 weeks time off to enjoy time with their friends and family, instead they're wondering, I gotta go find a job. I gotta get my resume in order. Where am I gonna work? This is your master plan. This is your timing. It's like, well, you got vacation anyway. You might as well use your vacation to find a new job. What a messed up way to go about it. For those employees affected, we are offering comprehensive packages, including job placement support to assist in their transition. I mean, I hope so. I hope that's actually true, that they're getting good severance benefits. I don't know whether it's true or not. I really hope it is, because man, at the very least, you could say, hey, we're going to fire you. Christmas is 2 weeks from now, so we're going to give you a bunch of money to make you feel better. I mean, that would be nice, wouldn't it? I think a lot of the people would probably rather just continue to be able to have a job doing something they probably love as opposed to getting canned before Christmas. But at least it sounds like you're throwing some money at them. We've also done what we can to minimize the scale of impact, like launching the VRP, that's the Voluntary Retirement Program, and exploring options to reduce our global real estate footprint. Minimize the scale of impact. Like, you could have probably minimized the impact, the emotional impact, by not doing it before Christmas. Do I sound like a broken record yet? If there's anybody here sticking with this rant for this long who knows why a company would do something so sleazy as to fire people and announce this stuff right before Christmas, please let me know. Like, my initial thought as to why they would do this had to do with being the fourth quarter and wanting to get their bookkeeping in order before like the quarter ends and your finances are due for the whole year. But it's like all of those people are still on the books. All of those expenses are there all through December and stuff. So it's like, are you even cleaning up your books at that point? So like, I can't fathom why you would do this now, right before Christmas. If anybody knows why companies would do this, like a rational business reason, like, I mean, it's still heartless and cruel, and they're still sleazy bastards for doing it. But if there's an actual rational business reason why they would do this, please let me know. Now, unfortunately, all of this shouldn't be surprising. The fact that they have to make layoffs and that they're struggling shouldn't be surprising to us. Like, if they didn't have to make any layoffs, if they didn't have to do all this cost-cutting strategies, that would be news when you look at their stock. Like, this is their 5-year stock. It is in the dumps. They're down 20% year to date. They're down 50% from their peak. Like, it should not be surprising that they have to do what they're doing now. Now, that doesn't diminish the fact that it is horrible, and like, my heart goes out to everybody losing their job, obviously. But the fact of the matter is that when your stock looks like this, like, things are gonna happen. Like, the writing is on the wall. So this shouldn't be surprising to us that this is happening. It's unfortunate, it sucks, it doesn't diminish that, but like, look at the stock. Look at how this company's doing. It's not doing that well. Which, begs the question, why is Chris Cox getting paid so much money? If Hasbro's like just going downhill, like, where's the leadership direction? Where's getting things back on track? Where's helping to make your product lines more like profitable and stuff? Like, where's all this? Like, it's just not happening. And yet it's making lots of money to drive Hasbro into the ground so that a whole bunch of wonderful people can lose their jobs. No, I mean, it's not all his fault, of course. Like, there are other things in the market and things happening that are causing problems. Like, Hasbro makes toys that are based upon Disney movies, and Disney movies are doing horrible right now. Disney. Okay, I'm not gonna go there. But, so it's not all his fault, obviously. There are other things going on. But the fact of the matter remains that Hasbro is sucking it up, and this dude's making tons of money. And you gotta ask yourself at some point, why? In fact, there's probably a board of directors out there that's wondering too, why? I think at the end of the day, Hasbro has a lot of outdated ideas and business practices. And it would not surprise me if within the next 12 to 18 months or so, they're looking at Chapter 11 bankruptcy. If they can't right their ship and get things back on track and increase stockholder value, get their shares up, and actually start making some money, like, they can't just keep going like this indefinitely before bankruptcy is the only thing left on the table. And that makes me wonder and make me ask the question, like, if their toy divisions are sucking it up so much and just going crazy, then why not spin off Wizards of the Coast? Magic the Gathering is making tons of money, I've heard. D&D is kind of like, meh, doing okay, I suppose. but Magic the Gathering is killing it with revenue. So why not spin off Wizards of the Coast so that you can have an actual profitable company over there doing well on its own, and then the Hasbro ship over here with all of its like Monopoly and other toy products, they're all crashing and dying. Let them go die off in a corner by themselves and let Wizards of the Coast actually succeed, you know, since they're actually able to make money, I think. You know, and that actually brings up another wonderful, beautiful idea. What if somebody else that's not a heartless corporate entity like Hasbro were to own Wizards of the Coast, were to own the D&D franchise and name and branding? Like, you gotta wonder, would it be a little bit better? Would it be maybe more amazing? Maybe it wouldn't keep breaking people's hearts with all these scandals and things like the OGL and Pinkertons and stuff like that if it were owned by somebody who's not just this massive corporate entity that just apparently only cares about making money and doesn't care what they have to do to get there. I don't know. Maybe that would be a good thing. What do you think? If you made it this far in the video, you stuck with me for this entire long rant, I want to thank you. It's great having you here. I gotta tell you, like, one of the things that really gets me going is seeing this level of corporate sleaze and stuff. Like, I used to work at a corporate company. I've seen some of this stuff happening, and man, it really makes me angry. And so when I see this happening and I see it affecting the industry, the gaming thing, the stuff that I love, and affecting a whole bunch of wonderful people who work at Wizards of the Coast, who make D&D and stuff, like, this sort of stuff, it isn't their fault, right? They have jobs. They're doing something they probably love and they're excited. It's like, who wouldn't love to work on D&D crap? Like, how amazing would that be, right? So like, lots of wonderful, awesome people there, and yet you have somebody at the top who's just doing things like this right before Christmas, etc., etc., etc. So when I hear about things like that happening, I get worked up. So if you made it this far, thank you, appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one.